Hello and welcome to the highlights of the Copenhagen Sprint, the 20th round of the Women's World Tour and the first ever edition of this race. A new race on the calendar for at least the next 3 years for both the men's and women's World Tour pelotons. Getting ready for the start in Roskilde earlier on today. All the big names are there, including Lorena Wiebes, the reigning European road race champion. The riders faced 151 kilometres of racing. Lovely conditions out there in Denmark. Very flat loop heading north through the country. There were 3 intermediate sprints throughout the day. They're calling them town sprints, where points were available for the first 3 over the line each time. We've had our first one, there is our second one, and one more before the end of the big loop. And the riders would then approach the finishing circuit in Copenhagen, where they would race 3 laps of 10 kilometres, a very technical finishing circuit to finish this race. The race got underway after a 7-kilometre neutral section. All eyes were on Lorena Wiebes as the big favourite for today. It was Volker-Wessels who were aggressive early on, with Valerie de May making an early attack at 131 kilometres to go. Only having a handful of seconds over the peloton. That was then brought back, but it was her teammate Mies Polland, the Dutch rider for Volker-Wessels, who then went clear, taking maximum points in the first sprint ahead of Clara Capoli and Elisa Balsamo. As the bunch was together navigating this course, a few more riders managed to escape as well, and we soon had a breakaway of 4 riders forming off the front. It was Julia Bergstrom of AG Insurance Soudal, Mies Polland of Volker-Wessels cycling team who initiated the move, as well as Britt de Grave of DD Group Pro Cycling Team and April Tacey of Team Coupe Repsol. They got over a minute over the peloton, and as we came to the second town sprint, it was April Tacey who initiated the move, trying to get maximum points in this sprint. April went clear from the other riders, taking the 3 points on the line. And crucially, Mies Polland, who won the first intermediate sprint, did not score in sprint number 2. Just 30 seconds over the peloton at this point, but a massive crash behind with some big names going down. Central reservation causing a number of riders to go down in this crash here. A lot of the riders from the Little Trek team were down, and the biggest name was Blanca Vass of Team SC Works Pro Time. She was unable to continue the race after that crash. Gap went back out to 45 seconds, but another crash in the peloton. More big names went down, more riders from Little Trek affected, as well as Eleanor Backstead from UAE Team ADQ, who was on the floor for quite a while receiving medical attention. They split the peloton in half, and it was the Little Trek riders working very hard in the second half of this split to bring it all back together as we approach the final 60k of the race. Meanwhile, our breakover still away, still working hard, with 1 intermediate sprint remaining. That was approaching at around 42k to go, and all eyes were on April Tacey, who was keen to try and take that overall classification. The gap to the breakaway was coming tumbling down as we approached that sprint, just a handful of seconds, and then it was a move from April Tacey, just taking Mies Polland with her, but she went clear solo. And as we approached that intermediate sprint, the other runners from the breakaway were caught, but she went solo to take maximum points on the line there to seal the overall victory in the intermediate sprint competition. There was a big lead out behind from Little Trek, with Elisa Balsamo going full gas for this sprint, taking second place on the line there behind April Tacey. Not quite enough to win that classification though, but opening up the legs ahead of the final 40 kilometres of racing. Once we were approaching the finishing circuit, we'd entered up with 33k to go. April Tacey was caught by the rapidly moving peloton here. We were greeted by huge crowds in Copenhagen for the very technical finishing circuit. They were able to see the finish line 3 times for these 3 10-kilometre laps. And coming into the final lap, we were all together as we went over the line, taking the bell for the final time for the final 10k. With about 8k to go, though, technical section here with a few cobbles, there was another huge crash in the peloton, and it was Georgia Baker, the big name, who went down this time for Liv Alula-Jaco in that purple jersey there on the floor, unfortunately unable to contest the sprint. As the riders approached the final kilometre, it was 5 for Georgie on the front for Team Picnic Pastanel. Her teammate Charlotte Kool, a big favourite for this race, a few riders back. It was Barbara Gorishi of ST Works Proto who did the final lead out for Lorena Wiebes, who was sat poised in third wheel, ready to make her move. And as we were in the final 500 metres, it was looking very well set up for Wiebes. She waited, bided her time. Then, when she made her move, no one could respond to the power of the European champion. Well over 100 career victories now, and she jumps well clear of the likes of Balsamo, Consoni and Kuhl. Plenty of time to celebrate before the line, taking the victory in the first edition of the Copenhagen Sprint. Plenty of time to celebrate for the SD Works Pro Time riders. Slightly reduced team, having lost Blanca Vass earlier on. As we can see a replay of that sprint. And the jump that Lorena Wiebes has goes well clear from the other best sprinters in the world. Take another World Tour victory. Victory to Wiebes. Second place on the line was Elisa Balsamo of Little Trek, and third place, photo finish very tight in the end there, for Chiara Consoni of Canyon SRAM Zonda Crypto. Plenty of smiles on the podium for the three riders there.